The board administration has been planning for many years on building a new facility for the Chinese community. Without this legislation, the planning code could not allow us to build a new hospital right here on this site. It's our dream to have something to continue on for our future. But now our dream is becoming a reality. I'd like to bring up the one supporter, the friend who helped us, the organization and the project, the mayor of San Francisco, Ed Lee.
All right. Thank you, Brenda. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Chinatown, our Chinese Community Center, where Chinese Hospital has been since the late 1800s. This is history for all of us. It's history for our city. And those of you that know about that history know that Chinese Hospitals was built in a time when immigrants came here and faced discrimination. They faced a whole lot of barriers. They couldn't buy property. We couldn't get health care to people that were working in the gold mines and on the railroads. And this is something that for many generations of immigrants to come to this country have learned about, even in a wonderful city, an inclusive city like San Francisco. And so it's in the backdrop that all of us have come together to support the modernization of our central healthcare system. And we know how valuable the Chinese hospital has been to this community. But now, today, it's more valuable not just for people who live in Chinatown. It's an extremely valuable center where all the doctors have come and the clinicians and the wonderful service here for the Chinese community throughout San Francisco, whether it's in the Richmond or in the Sunset or now in the Bayview and Visitation Valley, as well as here in Chinatown. I want to thank the leadership of the Chinese Hospital, their Board of Trustees. I know James has been leading this effort and Rose Pack has been leading this effort for so many years. It's been my personal pleasure to have contributed to the way that I have felt comfortable with, which is the annual golf tournament at the Olympic Club. But we've made that and we transitioned that to something that started out, Rose, when we started some 18 years ago, some $20,000 contribution to now, and just in a few weeks, $650,000 a year to help rebuild this Chinese hospital and make sure it stands with generations to come. But also, the Board of Trustees working with the community, working with our supervisors, working with the Chinese Six companies and the family associations that are all represented here today in their wonderful contributions. 10,000 here, 20,000 there, 100,000 here. The family associations have been wonderful because they know that history as well, and they want to make sure that generations to come benefit from our hospital. We've been constantly doing it beyond just the golf tournaments. We have to raise some serious money. $150 million is the total cost. And we still have some 60 to 65 million left. As James keeps reminding me, it never ends. But also, our community evolves. There's more immigrants coming. There's more needs. Our population of our seniors are growing. Our families are growing, and we need that medical help, that medical attention. And they have had a wonderful creation of the community healthcare system as well. They've rolled that out to again enroll more people in the Healthy San Francisco. And with all the wonderful doctors, and I know I see a lot of them here today, they are enthusiastic about this renovation and this seismic rebuild as we are, because they have the opportunity to serve even more clientele for our communities. I want to personally thank our supervisors, Supervisor David Chu, the board president, the district supervisor here, as well as Supervisor Eric Marr, because they understood when we talked to the hospital and the Board of Trustees how we needed to really fast track this to the board and get these approvals on, because seismic upgrades, it's all about beating the event. It's all about building this hospital before the events come, and there'll be some forced effort to, that might cause us even more damage and more threat to our own health. And I want to thank Brenda and her leadership at the hospital, because she's been steadfast in making sure she's got a team that delivers on the both the economics of it, and working with James Ho and the Board of Trustees to make sure that they have experts on the design and the engineering of this, to make sure that the footprint can accommodate the build-out. And we've had to have very good conversations with the planning department to get this through as well. So the whole team effort in putting this forth and making sure that once they got the planning approval, that the board acted responsibly, and they have. And so I want to thank everybody for all of their roles, from the community, the doctors, to our seniors and their help, to the advocates, to the Chinese Chamber and the Board of Trustees and their advocacy, to make sure that we've done it right. And we have done it right. And that's what brings everybody out here today to celebrate this wonderful opportunity to kick off the rebuild of an important institution, not just for Chinatown, but for the whole city of San Francisco. And that's my pleasure to sign this legislation. It has been fast-tracked through the board with all of their approvals. So, are we ready? All right.
Even though the mayor has thanked everybody that we were going to thank, thanks to him, we're going to have the president of the board, but also our district supervisor, David Chu.
Good morning. What a glorious day for Chinatown, for the Chinese community, and for San Francisco. Today is a true celebration of our history, of our community, and of healthcare. History, the mayor talked about the fact that in 1899, imagine, over 100 years ago, a dispensary sat here. And over the years, over the decades, this hospital has helped to celebrate our births, have helped to mourn our deaths, have helped our community through our triumphs and our challenges and our obstacles. Our community, I want to thank all of you for coming together. It takes a village to rebuild a hospital. And it has been an honor, I know, for my colleague Supervisor Ma and I to be Chinese supervisors, working with our first Chinese mayor, working with our Chinese Hospital Board of Trustees, with the Chinese Chamber, with our Chinese family associations, with our Chinese nonprofit community, with our public sector, our nonprofit sector, our private sector, our friends from throughout the world to build and rebuild this hospital. And then healthcare. I want to just mention for a second, I come from a family of healthcare folks. My grandfather sold Chinese herbs. My father was a physician. My brother is an acupuncturist. My mother likes to tell me that by becoming an elected official politician, I was a failure in the family because I was supposed to become a doctor. We know that those of you who are caring for our elderly, who are caring for our sick, you are doing the Lord's work, or by some, you're doing Buddha's work. And I want to thank you on behalf of the city for all that all of you have done to take care of the community well-being, of our health care, and ensuring not just that we're rebuilding this hospital today after over 100 years, but we are building a hospital that hopefully is going to last another 100 years. Congratulations.
Only two more speakers. As I stated, this is a dream for all of us, but I want to introduce the president of our board, James Ho, who helped us guide our pathway to this dream.
Well, welcome everyone for coming, and I think really the mayor and of course our president of the board has practically said everything. But what they haven't said is they are so modest about what they have done themselves. I think our mayor definitely have been working on this and helping us shepherd this through, his staff and so on. And without him, we wouldn't have been here today. More importantly, the mayor have been working on this project really for 18 years and more. It's not just the golf game. He's so modest about that. It's in every way he has been helping us. And every time he see me, see anybody, see any of our staff, he say, how's the hospital coming, you know? And his staff is, I think, really has been really hassled by him to help us out. Thank you very much, Mayor, and thank you very much to his staff. Like, I think Ken Rich has been helping us a lot, so I really appreciate it. And of course, the Board of Supervisors, I talked to Supervisor Eric Ma. He said, well, it's very good that it got through the Board of Supervisors. I said, hey, we all know San Francisco is notoriously hard to get these things through. And the reason it got through with no opposition and so on is really because of a lot of finesse. But of course, last but not least, I think I want to thank a lot of my board, okay, my staff, and a lot of the Chinatown community who has been helping us all along. And of course, specially mention has to go to Rose. All these years, without Rose, this particular building in 1970 would not even have been built, okay? Because of him, that was built. And now, many years later, we're building this one. So I don't know, if she lived another 100 years, I'm sure it'll be her again, okay? So given that, I hope she'll live 100 more years. So, for me, it's very gratifying because honestly, it's a promise I made to my grandmother. Since 1982, I started on the board of this hospital. She passed away here, and I told her, and he said, son, you may not know that how important these hospitals are to people like us who doesn't speak the language, who are very culturally, specific. And could you help make sure this hospital can endure and go into the future generation, helping people like us? So for me, I hope, this is the beginning that we'll get a good hospital. Thank you very much for coming. I appreciate all of you for coming here today. Thank you.
And finally, our community champion, the person who is raising funds to build the brand new, over 100,000 square foot hospital, Rose Pack.
Good morning. It's very emotional for me to stand here today. This hospital changed my life in a way that nobody really could understand. I was a reporter for the Chronicle when I got a call from Stephen Fong here, who was then the chair of the Board of Trustees. He said, we ran into some problem with the Chinese hospital. We and our board would like to talk to you. So I said, well, I'm at work, after 5, I'll meet you at Uncle's for coffee. So I met at Uncle with him and several board members, and also a physician who is not here today, and I wish I had remembered to bring him out, Dr. Roland Lowe. So they told me that the state health, services are going to shut them down, and that was a Friday. And by Tuesday, they have to relocate all of the patients because this hospital building did not conform to the fire code of those days. I said, what? He says, our doorway is too narrow, our staircase is too narrow, and because they have sent notices to an administrator and who said he couldn't fix it, so he neglected it. But anyway, the end of the story was they had 5 working days to move and shut the hospital, and what could be done about it. I said, huh? Shutting the hospital? And I said, who told you that? So they gave me all the paperwork from the state. So I took one look and I said, let me think about it. So I thought about it on Friday, and I said, who the hell are those bureaucrats telling us, to shut down a hospital who is so vital to the community? Well, very long story short, I decided to organize the community, and so instead, on the following Tuesday, the hospital had to have a plan to tell them how we're shutting it down and relocating all the patients. I have every bureaucrat that dotted and signed their name on the line facing us on a long table at the state building facing the community, and I demanded that they answer how they're going to help the patients by shutting down the hospital. So instead of us telling them what we plan to do, I reversed the role and have them tell us how they are going to help us resolve the problem. And that was how I learned to organize the community and use the political power of elected officials. At that point, I had Leo McCarthy, who was the speaker at that time of the assembly because it belonged to the state. And then they told me, since we're building the next building with a Hill-Burton grant from the federal government for an outpatient facility, and I said, yeah, very nice. We're building a clinic, but they're shutting down our main hospital. So 3 years up and down the state, we changed the legislation and grandfather claused the hospital to be exempted from those requirements, changed the federal law, and moved this building from a clinic and put the hospital in. We literally already have the building and just force the hospital in. And I keep on thinking that's, somebody have Willie Brown's shoes, that he had a nice pair of shoes he didn't wear, and except for church every Sunday. One day he couldn't fit the shoe. That was the only pair of shoe he had. So he said, Rose, I just shoved my foot into that shoe, even though it didn't quite fit, but it looked nice when I was sitting down. So that's exactly what we did with the clinic next door. It didn't fit. It was not built for a hospital, but we just jammed everything in to make it work. And behold, this 30 years later, now we have to build a new one because of new regulations and new law. But anyway, that changed my whole life, my relationship with the community, and respect for some of our family associations, of what they have accomplished before us. So this is where we are at. And what we are doing is very small compared to what they had to do years ago when the condition was not so good, when we were discriminated against. You couldn't even go across the street here without being beaten up just 3 blocks down, And so it's very gratifying for me today. We definitely need the money. It's not as big as you think we need. I did arithmetic. It's 36 more million only as of to date we need, Mayor. And even though we took out a bigger loan than we actually need, but it's 36 million. So all of you family associations, I'm still coming after you. Some of you have given, but some of you have given too little. And then all of you, you think you're here, ha ha ha, but you'll all be working to close the gap. So Lennar is here. I need more than 25,000 from you, Kofi. I need 25 million for you. So when you borrow the money from the Chinese government, when they buy, invest in your program, you can tag along a few more million for us. But anyway, that's the whole trick. Thank you very much. I won't take your time.
And now, signing of the legislation, Mayor.
Are we ready?
Yes, we're ready.